Hey everybody, it's Pat Jones, and we're here to do another TurfZoom brought to you by our friends at the Aquatrols company. And today I'm going to talk with and help you get to know somebody who's been part of this industry as long as I have, Chip Houmes from the Aquatrols company. Chip, how the heck are you?
I'm doing great. Doing great. Looking forward to a Labor Day weekend here. So,
Yes, it's coming up. You and I have known each other a long time, and our paths have crossed in many different ways.
yes,
How did you? Because you started out on the sales side, working for a couple of the chemical partners in the industry, some of whom are now long gone and part of much larger companies. How did you get
correct.
involved in turf to begin with? What was the attraction of turf for you?
That's a great question. I grew up on a farm, actually have an ag degree, minor in agronomy, love the aspects of growing plants, right? But at the time, I was more focused on corn and soybeans. Was a summer intern with Elanco, if you know what that is, which is now part of Corteva. Went to work after college for Dow, was there 3 or 4 years, then came over to Ciba for 12 years, which became Novartis. I left before they became Syngenta. During my tenure with Ciba, they approached me and said, "Hey, you're doing really good here in ag. We'd like to promote you. We're going to promote you into our turf or specialty business." And so in 1989, they stepped me out of ag, and I had to put on a turf hat. And oh my gosh, they moved me from Illinois to Atlanta, Georgia. I was selling fungicides in Atlanta when a lot of those courses were still bent grass, and got to develop some nice relationships with superintendents because they took me under their wing. And I mean, I didn't know how to identify anthracnose or take all or hell, even dollar spot. And um, grew a lot, learned a lot over the 12 years I was there with Ciba, predominantly, especially the turf time. Was fortunate enough, they just launched Banner. We got into Primo. I was part of the original Primo launch. So that was all exciting. But then fast forward to 1998, Precision gave me a call and we're looking for a rep in the Midwest. And I knew a couple of the people that were at Precision, and I stepped into Precision Laboratories in 1998.
25, 26 years, and
26 years.
company is pretty remarkable. And to see, though, over the course of that time, how this industry has evolved and how it's
Oh my gosh,
changed. You know,
a lot, a
it's
lot.
just remarkable. So, what are some of the things along the way that made you shake your head that you were just like, wow, can you believe that we're evolving into this next thing? What were some of those moments?
Wow. I mean, so many different. I mean, there were a lot of new chemistries, and then I think to the post patent era moving in, right, where we're defending the original patented brands to go into so many post patent opportunities, um, and then watching mergers and acquisitions on the manufacturer side, right? So I went through that when Ciba merged with Sandoz to Novartis. Um, and then watching even other companies like Dow, Elanco come together, and now Corteva, but just seeing all those on the manufacturing side. And then you look at the distributor side of the business. And I don't know whether, a typical superintendent or even lawn care company necessarily, but you start looking at it's kind of, I don't know whether it's a pendulum swinging from side to side or whether it's a cyclical cycle where we go from strong independence to it looks like more national distribution, a lot of independents getting bought up by larger companies, becoming bigger. I've been through that when everybody said we're not going to have any more independents, it's all going to be nationals, to then we go to a lot of independents pop up because there was an opportunity or relationship there, to now it's swinging back where it seems like there's more acquisitions going on.
Yep.
But that'll swing back and forth and continue. So you just kind of go fluid. The aspect of the industry, though, the people that I've worked with over those 26, or you add up, all the years to 30 some years, there's still a lot of the same people. Now, some of us are retiring, but the industry is a huge industry. It's a lot of dollars. It's a huge volume, but yet the players, it's a lot of the same people, and you don't want to burn bridges, right? You really don't want to burn bridges as you go, because you'll be working with people. I've always tried not to badmouth any particular product. I'll tell you why what I'm representing, how it may better fit your needs and better perform, but I'm not going to slam the competition because, I guess you shouldn't throw rocks when you're living in a glass house. So,
So what are some of those other sales lessons you learned? I always turn to our old friend Willie Pennington, who retired from BASF a couple of years ago, and I interviewed Willie along the way. And one of the things he said that stuck with me was when he meets somebody who's a new superintendent or new to his area, that his goal was to be friends first and do business later. So I always thought that was a great thing. Are some of those kinds of things that stick in your head?
those are good words of wisdom from Willie. I know Willie really well. Of course,
Yeah.
by working in the Southeast, and then later when he was selling more of the Bassamet representing nationally. But
Mhm.
those are really good words of wisdom. I think first and foremost, you have to establish credibility. And
Mhm.
and some of our sales training, we talk about, so credibility, that can be through friendship, right? But I think you have to establish, and hopefully you've got enough experience, maybe enough either industry knowledge or product knowledge or something you're bringing to the table. And, you know, I guess I can BS with the best of them, but the BS, I mean, the buck has to stop on your desk, right? And typically, I think what's led to success is I know what my products do. Usually I tell them it's going to do X, but they're going to get X plus. Like I want them to be pleasantly surprised. I don't want to tell them, yeah, you can cut your rate and get the same result. No, you're not going to get the same result. I don't want to tell them, oh yeah, my product's going to do this for you too. And then they use it and they find out it doesn't. I
Right.
think honesty, integrity, and establishing that trust is critical, whether you do it through friendship or you do it through example, right? Through their experiences with you, examples and telling stories, going back and talking about when Ken Magnum and I were working on take all patch control at Atlanta Athletic Club. So you tell some of those stories, they understand, hey, you've got some street cred, right?
Yeah, right. One of the things that you always hear that I completely agree with is one of the hallmarks of a good salesperson is their willingness to recommend a product that they don't even sell, right? That
Oh,
sometimes they know the right thing is something that's not in their portfolio, but they're going to tell you because they want to have that relationship with you and they want to be straight with you so they can continue to sell stuff to you for the next 20 years.
I think, I don't, so people look at selling, right? And then that's part of like, okay, are you a used car salesman? Are you an insurance salesman? Are you just there to get the order? And wow, I got another sale and walk out the door. I think it's more important to look at what their issues are, what their concerns are, what do they need this product to do for them, and then plug a product in that we might have that would fit that. However, there are sometimes we can't fit that need, and I'm going to say, hey, our product won't do that. What you're using currently, or you might consider this product to do that. I think long term, this is not a sprint. If you're really in the industry, if you're really in the business, just like I said, the mergers, acquisitions, all that stuff, but it's also it's the same superintendent or assistant superintendent who moves up and you're developing relationships with them. Same thing with the lawn care companies, all these different companies. A lot of times it's the same people. They may wear different hats, but you burn bridges. You sell them something that doesn't do what you say it's going to do. That's no good for anybody. And it'll come back to bite you. But when you treat people the way you want to be treated. I mean, I could get biblical, right? You treat others like you would have them do unto you. That's the mantra.
No, perfect. Exactly right. It's so simple, yet it eludes some people. So now all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, it's been happening over about the last year and a half. Precision Labs and Aquatrols have come together to form the Aquatrols company and gone through this kind of joining of the portfolios and the teams. So why does that matter? Why does that matter to the average customer, superintendent, or even distributor? Why does it make a difference that there's now this combined portfolio of products that does a lot of different stuff?
Well, I think it goes back to how that whole process developed, right? Working for Precision Labs, I was working for the original owner, Rick Wallner. Great president of a company. I worked and reported directly to him for several years, or different layers of management at some point, but his door was open. He looked for a succession plan. And so he formed a joint venture with an Italian chemical company named Lamberti. Lamberti is a raw ingredient supplier. They actually manufacture a lot of formulation aids, emulsifiers, surfactants that some of the other main companies, I don't know, I'm speculating, but companies like Corteva and BASF and Syngenta and all those companies use ingredients like what Lamberti manufactures. I think they were looking at getting more vertical in their integration, right? From a business model to say, okay, we're making these products. They were making raw ingredients that we were using when we were manufacturing products for precision. What's really cool about Lamberti is they're actually building molecules. They're a true basic manufacturer of surfactant technologies.
Right.
And so they bought into precision, I'd have to run the numbers, 11 years ago, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
They owned half the company over the next years. Now they've bought precision the rest of the way out in the last year or two. And so now we were a Lamberti Corporation. Then about 2 years ago, they bought Aquatrols, which
Mm-hmm.
was our primary competition. You have precision or Aquatrols, depending on the region of the country. Aquatrols nationally, now that I'm on the inside looking at numbers, Aquatrols had a little bit more volume than we had. On the other hand, Precision's products were outstanding. So now you've taken the two biggest soil surfactant manufacturers, and I would say we're right there with the largest foliar surfactant company, and put them together so that now we can have just a strength and a stronger, bigger organization, still leveraging the fact that we're owned by Lamberti. We're still buying raws when necessary from other manufacturers, but Lamberti's able to give us a lot of access to chemistries that are unique, that may be patented, that are not available to other people. So I think the key of this whole merger is knowing the parent company Lamberti is basic chemistry.
That's a great insight. And I think, again, a lot of times superintendents don't really, it doesn't really resonate with them when this kind of stuff happens, when these big mergers happen. But this one was kind of relevant, and it was a gain. I think it was a win, because now they have even more options to consider, and even more opportunities to try new things. And they're still
Yes.
working with the same people, and they're still working largely with the same distribution and everything. So, we've been through a lot of these kinds of things in the past, and as they go, I kind of felt like this one went pretty darn well. So, it's a change, but it's not much of a change. It's still the same products, and it's still largely the same people. What are some, so now you've gotten a chance, after years of studying the products in the Aquatrols portfolio. Now, as the Aquatrols company, you get a chance to use those and try those and recommend them. What are some of the ones that you really like that are part of the new portfolio?
So yeah, I mean, we were just launching with Precision. We were just launching our new Cascade tray, which is our new formulation of that
Right.
has some great benefits to it. I mean, basically, even better performance than the old Cascade, and it's safer. Cascade
Right.
tray is probably the safest soil surfactant on the market. We were using it at 16 to 32 ounce rates, playing around in research, still not getting any tip burn and not being watered in right away. So we had new chemistries that we were working there, but then looking at it from the Aquatrol side, right? That it was a challenge sometimes to go out and position against products like Zipline. Zipline is a phenomenal product. They've got a great formulation that they put together there. It's got the strength of what Revolution was doing, but only improved, because they blended some other surfactants with it and added Aquavita, which is a kind of a nutrient biological impact to help stress and to help more nutrients become available. So that's a great product, and it's one that, quite honestly, was difficult to compete against. I mean, I was doing well with Vivax against it, and with Cascade against it to a point, but having both, now we can sit down with the superintendent and look at what do they want to accomplish. And now I've got a bigger portfolio to recommend the product that really best fits, without saying, yeah, we don't have that Aquavita technology in any of our products. So, but if you use ours and you put a good product with it, it'll do the same. And yeah, so yes, it it frees me up to make the right recommendation. Products like Flex, right? Aqueduct
Right.
Flex is a granule. Oh my gosh, Aquatrols was in their wisdom. We've got Precision had 12 different granular formulations of options, right? We had it on just a regular granule, but we also had it on fertilizers and a lot of different things. And we still have that. But Flex, Aquatrols said, we're going to streamline this. We want to unconfuse it. We're going to take Aqueduct, put it on a dispersible granule using some of the Anderson technology, and have a product that will basically fit all those needs. And so Flex is that. It's a great rescue material. It's got a few weeks residual, but they see that rapid response. I mean, I equated it. I had a meeting earlier this week. I equated it to swatting a fly. If you've got a dry spot and you're trying to fix it, and you throw Flex out there and it pops it in a day or two, versus putting out a product that might last a little longer, but it's going to take longer for that recovery, you see that recovery right in front of your eyes.
Yeah,
There's so many more. I could list several. Even as simple. So Dispatch, I've competed, Duplex against Dispatch, or Ellipso Plus versus Dispatch. But learning some of the intricacies of Dispatch and it has a little bit of a block copolymer. It has a little bit more holding than our products offer. So you want a straight penetrant, or do you want something a little more? And then on the other side of that, they had data that we never generated. And I love university data, because that validates what our claims are. Besides, in the 26 years, seeing the results at every course, because every course is different with the way things behave. But seeing that data, they actually had data showing that if you put Dispatch out, when you put out your pre-emerge, and they specifically were looking at pendimethalin and prodiamine, that you had a much more uniform weed barrier. And they've got data showing better crabgrass control by putting out a penetrant over the top. It's just an example. I'm not trying to sell you on Dispatch necessarily, and I think you could accomplish some of that. But the point is, they've got data showing that it's doing what it's going to do. And then we've also, one of the neat things, so Aquatrols would work with customers, but at Precision, we had a program called Prove. And Prove is when we develop it in the lab, we take it to our research farm in New Jersey. Now we take it to the universities, and they're testing it for a year or two or whatever. And then we take it to the field. And a Prove partner, we've got courses that we're working with locally, so that I can have it on the ground here in the Midwest and prove that it's going to do the same thing that it did in a study done in Tennessee or with Rutgers or someone, which is also very valuable, because there's a lot of environmental differences.
Yeah, so important. Going back to your point about Aqueduct Flex, I have run out of, I can't believe how many superintendents I've talked to where the assistant, all of the members of the team have a bag of Flex in the back of their cart, and they just use it as a spot treater all over the place. And it's just it doesn't seem like a big thing, but for them, it's everything, because it's a chance to cure those little problems before they become bigger problems. So,
well, and even if you're putting out, so let's say you're using one of my soil surfactants, and there's still a problem area on a collar, or there's a problem area in the back left corner of the green that always has a dry spot problem, and you put out a standard rate of soil surfactant. Those standard rates are meant to address 95% of your problems, but there's always those real stressed areas that either they're more hydrophobic, or there's more traffic, or in a collar, you've got water being wicked out of the edges of the green, because you've got native soil butting up against your top dress sand soil, amended soils, USGA greens, that you go out and spot treat those areas, give it another shot of a little extra wetting agent. I compare it to grub control. If you've got 3 grubs per square foot, you can use a light rate of an insecticide and you're good to go. If you've got 30 grubs per square foot, you're using the highest rate of insecticide you can. With a wetting agent, just to say, okay, 4 ounces a month, 5 ounces a month, 8 ounces a month, depending on the product you're using, that's good for most areas. But you may have one little tiny problem, but a bag is going to treat 10,000 square feet. Usually it's not 10,000 square feet of problems. It's a bag lasts a long time and treats a lot, and you're giving it that extra little dose to make sure that you fix that area too.
yeah, absolutely. So you are still incredibly passionate about what you do, and very, very insightful. What do you do for fun? What do you do to relax? What kinds of things do you do to escape from this?
For the interview, I should have worn an Aquatrols shirt, right? But I've only got two. I've got a bunch of precision shirts. But today you caught me. I was kind of in a more casual. I'm wearing my Jeep Jamboree shirt.
Nice.
I've gotten into going Jeeping. Jeeps are now my passion, and probably will be as I retire a few years down the road. And I've even gotten the bug where I'm going off road, and I'm actually a trail guide with Jeep Jamboree now. And so that makes me a professional because they pay my expenses and I get a per diem. So I'm getting paid to Jeep. So I'm a professional.
How long, when did you buy your first Jeep? How long has it been?
2017. I mean, I always wanted one. I was a Harley. I rode Harleys, right? I was like
That's
back in the
great.
craze, everybody. So I had a Harley and I was all in for, well, I've had a motorcycle since I was 13 years old.
Yeah.
Still got the Harley, but it's sitting in the barn. My wife does not like riding on the back of the Harley, but she'll
Okay.
jump in the Jeep with me and go anywhere. And having four wheels under you, but riding a Harley on the street with all the traffic there is versus taking my Jeep and going to a trailhead and going off road and crawling rocks or going through mud or just going through the forest and crisscrossing over some streams and in nature. I'm too old and too fat to hike. So I can ride my Jeep where other people might want to go hiking.
Well done. Well done. Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. I still, as a former Jeep guy, remember doing the two finger salute every time somebody drove by, and you
I,
had to do
that's
all that Jeep culture stuff. And
the
now it's
Jeep wave.
ducks.
That's actually it's two fingers, but not like this, Pat. It's two fingers separated, and it comes back from when the veterans came over from World War II. It was a victory sign.
Oh, very nice. V for victory.
Yep.
Very cool. Well, you victoriously handled this interview very well. I appreciate it. In fact, nobody, I don't think anybody will notice the fact that I pulled you over to the side of the road and you were willing to do this for
It,
me.
it's the beginning of EOP. We're out here hustling it right now, but I wanted to make sure to take time with you, Pat.
We don't mention EOP. Shh. No, no, it is that time. And by the way, and that's another quick thing. The approach program, the rewards program, is the easiest stinking EOP in the world. So I hope people who haven't signed up for it will, because there's no downside to it.
There's a lot of precision products that are added in now too. So you're not
Good
only
deal.
getting the points that you would have gotten on the former Aquatrols products, but now the whole, not every product's listed, but we've added several in.
Well done. Well, Chip, you're off the hook. Thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it. And any final thoughts for all of your customers around Illinois and the Great Lakes? And what do you
My
want to tell
goodness.
them?
I think, I almost feel like I'm saying goodbye, which I'm not. I'm at
No,
least 2 or 3 or 4 years away from retirement. Not sure when it's going to be, but I told him as long as it's fun and I can keep going. But you know, to me, it's just been a pleasure. I mean, all the all the grass growers that I've met, I love working with them and have really enjoyed. I've learned from so many. Learning what works at one course may not work exactly the same at another course all the time, but being able to sit there, and I've always looked at it. If I was sitting on their side of the desk, what works best, and hopefully they feel that when I'm with them or if I'm presenting to them sometime, I'm really trying to look out for their best interest and not selfishly just trying to push something down their throat. You had hinted at me that you might ask me who's my biggest influences, and I really struggled because there are so many people that I'd have to list over the history of my career of people that have had impact on my career. And I would say that pretty much almost every interaction I have with a customer, I walk away learning something, which is fun. And hopefully I can share a little bit of my experience and we both learn from each other.
perfect. I'm going to let that be the last word. That's awesome. Chip, thanks for your
Thank you.
time. Thank you, all of you, for tuning into yet another Turf Zoom sponsored by the Aquatrols Company. Chip, have a great day.
Thank you very much, Pat. Appreciate it.